There has been a lot of conversation in the last week about whether the Fed, the Federal Reserve, will do an emergency interest rate cut. Jeremy Siegel, who is an economist and professor at Wharton School of Business, said that that is what was needed. Now, will the Fed do an emergency rate cut? I don't think so. My prediction is that in their meeting next month in September, they will do a reduction of 25 basis points, which is 0.25%, because investors are worried that the US stock market is one big house of cards, and recent job reports have potentially confirmed these fears. In addition to that, there are these geopolitical crises happening in several places all over the globe right now, so people are feeling unsettled and are wondering if the US is slipping into a recession. Now, typically in a recession, one of the tools available is to cut interest rates. That helps to encourage economic activity, which can help pull an economy out of a recession. So whether it's through an emergency meeting or the next meeting they have together, what would a lower interest rate mean for the small business acquisition space? It means that debt is more readily available. It is cheaper, which means people have more access to capital, to money. So what do I mean by access to capital? Let's just take a $100,000 loan as an example, and let's just take a 2% interest rate, super low, and an 8% interest rate on the higher side. If you are borrowing for 1 year, interest only, on that $100,000, if you have a 2% interest rate, you're paying $2,000 back in interest, only $2,000, whereas under the 8%, well, you're paying back $8,000 in that same year. So the cost of that is drastically different. So if you are borrowing $100,000 at an 8% interest rate environment, it's much more expensive and it's harder to qualify for that because you have to be able to pay the $8,000 back. Whereas it's easier to qualify when you only have to pay $2,000 back on that $100,000. So if you are pricing out a deal to buy a small business of your own, that means more deal scenarios will work because the debt, the money is cheaper. Because of that, there will actually be more people being able to make deals work because money is cheaper. More people being able to make deals work because money is cheaper means more people come into the market. And you'll remember from business lessons back at school that there's always a supply and demand curve. So the supply will be staying the same, which, there's a good supply of businesses available for sale, but there'll be more buyers in the market. And so that will probably mean there's an uplift in prices or upward pressure on prices in the businesses, and we may see small business prices increasing. Are you overwhelmed in your journey into small business ownership? If so, look no further than my Inner Circle. The Inner Circle is the best way to accelerate your journey into small business ownership. We are a community of small business buyers offering the best in education, community, and accountability to change your life. Book a discovery call with me today and let's talk. Link is just below. If you are already a small business owner, this might be a good time to go and shop your existing SBA loan if you've got one, or other types of debt. You may be able to refinance into some cheaper debt. That would ultimately mean that you have more cash in your pocket at the end of every month. So what is my overall takeaway here? It is that if debt gets cheaper, if interest rates come down, then there will be more economic activity around the space of small business acquisition. In COVID, we saw the Fed drop interest rates to almost 0%. Now, I don't think that's going to happen again, maybe ever, or at least not for a very long time, but I will be keeping a close eye on what the Fed does with its interest rates because it has a direct knock-on impact to me as a small business owner and an active small business investor. Because ultimately, general wealth building theory is you want to own assets, and you want to own assets with cheap fixed debt, because assets historically will go up with inflation, at least in line with inflation if you look historically, but the debt stays the same. So you create this arbitrage of wealth as the asset increases in value and your debt stays the same and actually goes down because it is being paid down over time. And that doesn't even include the other benefits that exist from holding hard assets such as businesses and real estate, such as depreciation. So if you're already a small business owner, I think the upcoming changes to interest rates could have a favorable impact on your business valuation. And if you're in the market for a small business, just be aware that these changes could be just around the corner. Thank you for watching. If you'd like to buy a small business and you know what to do, you have to book a discovery call with me. I'd love to talk to you about my Inner Circle, the community that provides the education, community, and accountability to help you change your life. We've had several members now completely change their lives by being full-time small business investors, and I'd love to help you do the same. This is James, the Business Buying Brit, signing off.